Set of comments from the Premier of the Free State, Maqueen Letsoha-Mathae, over the weekend about the situation regarding local councils in her province. She says dark forces have snuck into municipalities and their only aim is to steal. Letsoha-Mathae also saying the lust for money has blinded these forces to the needs of the people in the Free State. And we did ask to speak to her or her office about this morning, and the Free State Cooperative Governance MEC. Unfortunately, not available to speak to us right now. Also this week, the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee, the Cooperative Governance Committee, is going to the Free State. And they're also investigating. The chair is Dr. William Kize. Well, the Free State's office says they'll speak to us after that visit. Let's speak now to the Human Rights Commission. The South African Human Rights Commission has compiled several reports about service delivery in the Free State. Thonoko Modise is the manager for the SA Human Rights Commission in the Free State. Thonoko, good morning to you, sir. You've been investigating service delivery in the Free State. You'll have seen these comments by the Premier. Does what she say surprises you when you look at the level of service delivery in the Free State from your investigations?
Well, good morning to you and your viewers. It doesn't surprise us because the inquiry report really speaks to issues that have been picked up by, the Portfolio Committee. And therefore, this is exactly what we picked up since all our investigations in all these municipalities, which are extremely distressed.
So what kind of practices are you seeing? I mean, I don't live in the Free State, but people who do tell me you drive through many towns, you drive through Mangaung, you can see roads collapsing, you can see problems with water, with rubbish. What is actually happening in councils?
Well, from our report, and our investigations, and obviously our investigations are, we do our inspections in, all municipalities. What we pick up is, quite distressing, the road infrastructure that has collapsed extremely. We also picked up wastewater treatment works, which have, at collapsed state. We see, quite a lot of sewer spillages that is also running into stormwater drains and eventually, polluting, the scarce water resources that we have. We see, refuse removal, that, dams of refuse that is not really removed. And this is just, appalling conditions that the residents find themselves in.
Do you think corruption is at the bottom of this? I mean, it can just be that people won't do their jobs, which I suppose is a form of corruption if you're paid a salary to do a job. But, I mean, from what you're aware of, and I realise you may, as the Human Rights Commission, want to be a little careful with what you say. But do you think there is a problem with corruption in these councils? I mean, certainly the Premier thinks that. Well,
we're not sure, but we have noted with concern, irregularities as they've been picked up by, Auditor General in procurement processes, and so we are concerned that systems that needs to be followed in terms of procurement, your SEM processes, are not followed to the latter, and there's no accountability on how funds, municipal funds, are being used. We also see that there's quite a number of vacancies that are vacant for senior positions and strategic positions of technical people who will be able to assist municipalities in discharging its mandate.
So I would imagine that, I mean, the Auditor General has said for many years, and in fact the Auditor General before her and the Auditor General before her says that there's no consequence management. So do you see a bad practice in a council, money gets wasted, someone makes bad decisions, and there's no consequences for them? Did you come across that dynamic like the Auditor General has?
Well, we really accept what Auditor General does because they are experts in that field and they do their work thoroughly. And some of the findings that they made are not even challenged by municipalities. So we are really encouraged by the Portfolio Committee, coming through. You may remember in the past, the Select Committee came as well to visit municipalities on an oversight duty. So what we see is just, a confirmation of our findings as Human Rights Commission that, there's been, irregularities in the processes, and this, impacts negatively on, fundamental human rights of residents within, Free State municipalities.
So It's one thing to say, it's one thing to live with bad roads. I mean, many of us can probably survive that. It's very difficult when other things happen. So rubbish not being collected can just be gross, can be disgusting. The worst probably for people is water issues, and particularly when sewage flows through homes. I mean, that must be devastating for people when those kind of services, when water doesn't work, when sewage pipes collapse. I mean, it must have such a terrible impact on people.
Yeah, correct. We recently took one of the municipalities, Masilonian, to court, and we had an order against them enforcing that they should provide residents of that area with water, and this goes to many municipalities across the province, and our residents and people within these municipalities, they really deserve to be treated with dignity and respect for human life and an environment that is not harmful to their health. And we find quite a number of human rights violations, and through our work, we've been visiting quite a number of municipalities, monitoring our, whether there's compliance to our report. And we find that, the situation is not either improving or, conditions are remaining the same.
So do people just not listen to you? I mean, do councils not listen to you? Do they not listen even to the courts? I mean, that's incredible that a council can do that, and yet I'm sure what you say is true. Politicians just don't listen.
Well, we hope, that through our, intervention, as we've taken one municipality to court, there was an issue in Windbed area in Makeleketla, and we've seen, water tankers being used now to give people water in the circumstances where, the water cannot be piped through homes. And this was a situation where you would find residents will stay for longer days, many days without being provided with water, which is a very basic right. So what we're saying is if municipalities are not going to really comply with the recommendations and findings of Human Rights Commission, we would have to, have no other alternative but to approach the courts to enforce, the rights of the residents. And we are not mixing our words. We'll do that as Human Rights Commission, because obviously people bring complaints to the commission, hoping that the commission will assist them. And this is what we intend to do, to discharge our mandate to protect the rights of the residents of Free State.
Thonoko, I presume you see similar patterns. You can see where, services are falling apart and why they fall apart. Are there any changes you can recommend to sort of stop this from happening? I mean, so many people talk about changing the structure of councils. I don't know if that'll help. Is there anything that you can see that's a sort of obvious fix?
Well, we have given the municipalities, our recommendations from the report that we have compiled against every municipality, and we requested municipalities to really follow through, our recommendations as Human Rights Commission. And we are confident that if municipalities would really stick and really comply with our recommendations and implement these recommendations, we'll find quite a lot of improvement. I must say, there are some municipalities where you find, where there was quite a lot of sewer spillages, and you find that, conditions have improved slightly, but, there's still more work that needs to be done by municipalities to really change and turn things around for the betterment of all, residents within the province.
Thonoko Modise, I really appreciate the time, sir. Thank you very much indeed. The Provincial Manager for the South African Human Rights Commission in the Free State.